Hi everyone, I am Simon Boucher, Product Specialist for Sea-Doo. We will be reviewing the technical presentation for the model year 2018 lineup. As you may know, Sea-Doo is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. We have the introduction of a new platform. So today the agenda will be to build the new platform system by system so that you guys can see the technical differences. We will also be reviewing the engine changes and improvements. Following that, we will go through a lineup review and also the improvements related to that lineup. And finally, I will be introducing you a new lifting tool that BRP will be providing very soon. So let's start with the new platform. So the new platform replaces the units built on the S3 hull. That new platform does not bring any new specific model. The model names have not changed, but you may see that there are no suspended units with this platform. So now let's build the platform system by system so that you can see where everything is located. First, the hull, the floating device, the propulsion system, the fuel system, the engine, reverse and IBR, exhaust, cooling system, ventilation system, electrical system, steering system, the console, and the upper deck. First, let's have a look at a model year 17 RXTX and a model year 18 RXTX. So you guys can see one of the big differences. The unit is almost 1 inch wider. It brings in a lot of stability. There has other things involved like the seat position and the upper deck. We will see that later. So the hull is called ST3 since it's inspired of the T3 hull with the deep V, but it's also very stable, strong and steady. So here are the particularities or new parts related to the hull. Let's look at that in detail. We'll review its construction with CMTech molding technology and thermofilm finish. We will also look at the new through hull fitting design, trim tabs, sponsons, reboarding ladder, joint and flush fittings. Alright, now the hull and deck construction. I've put them together in the same slide because they both use the same technologies. Both hull and deck will use the thermofilm finish that was introduced on the GTR-X last year. It's a finish that's very durable, scratch resistant and chip resistant against the gel coat. It's also easy to repair. It uses polyester-based products like polyester-based Bondo with paint, a repair that can also be done at an automotive body shop. So it can definitely reduce downtime and repair cost, especially during peak season when those fiberglass guys are very busy. So the hull structure itself is made of the CMTech technology that we've introduced in 2014 in the hulls. So you guys are familiar with that. So both the hull and then the deck will have that nice smooth finish on the inside with the precise dimensions. Just to mention that the thermofilm finish will also be widely used on the rest of the lineup, but only for the upper deck. The lower hulls on the GTI and RXPs will still be made of a gel coat finish with the CMTech structure. The upper decks will now be similar to the GTR-X's last year. They will be thermofilm finish with CMTech technology. Only the GTS's white and the GTI SE black will be using gel coat finish upper deck. So for the rest of it, it will all be standardized with the thermofilm. So the through-hull fitting design is totally new. It brings in a few benefits, but for you, the biggest one is really serviceability. Even if we don't deal with this very often, in the event that you have to replace it, it's entirely and easily replaceable with a 4-bolt design from the inside. So the new ST3 hull uses some fixed trim tabs. The trim tabs are similar but different from the RXPX ones. They're brand new for this hull. They do contribute to the characteristic of the hull by adding running surface line to the unit. The sponsons are also different from the previous platform. The RXT, GTX, and Wake Pro will be using the sponson that we introduced last year on the GTS, GTI, Polytech hulls, while the RXT-X with the X package will get a brand new, more aggressive sponson. A new boarding ladder is introduced for this new platform. The new ladder offers a wider tube with a flat top surface for more comfort. It also folds further down to make the reboarding easier. That new ladder comes standard on the GTX and Wake Pro, while it will be optional on the RXT and RXT-X. Unfortunately, it doesn't retrofit the older or other platforms. New drain and flush fittings. This may sound like a detail, but I know some of you guys have been requesting to go back to this system. So we are going back to a fitting that's mounted with 2 screws, and it's all serviceable from the outside. Now the propulsion system. The system itself is fairly unchanged and uses a similar drive shaft with carbon ring seal. It also carries on the jet pump from its predecessor. The fuel system, we standardize with the 60-liter fuel tank that we were using with the previous platform also. It's the same as the rest of the lineup. And the fuel cap is now accessible underneath the front storage cover. So it's easy to access, and it's a screwed style fuel cap. Now, in general, the engine system layout has not changed. Like the surrounding components are similar. The new platform can be equipped with 3 engines: the 1503 155, the 1500 HOACE 230, and the 1630 ACE 300. A few technical changes were done to the engines and the cooling system. That also applies to the rest of the lineup in some cases, mostly on the RXPX with the 300. So let's review those changes on the engine side and then the coolant side. For the engine overview, the big news is the removal of the 1503 HO260 from the lineup. Now the 900 remains mostly unchanged, and all other engines are improved. So let's look at those improvements. All right, so the 1500 series, which covers the 130, the 155, and the 230, will get major improvements this year. It's a big standardization with the 1630 ACE 300. I will go through some of the details. Like the cylinder block will be the one from the 1630. It will be using plasma coating technology, an oil temperature sensor on all engines, the same oil pressure sensor, the same oil filter, the high-flow water pump, the cylinder head and gasket, fuel injectors will all be the same, engine harness will be the same, and they will all use the new 80-degree thermostat from the 1630, which we'll talk about later. What remains unchanged is the fact that it's a 1.5-liter engine. The displacement will not change since the internal, the crankshaft, connecting rod, and pistons are the same. So they are still 1.5-liter engine. They just use the 1630 engine block, the crankcase. The 300 also gets some improvements. A colder thermostat, so 80 degrees instead of 87. A new spark plug with a lifetime of 200 hours versus the previous one with 100. And it's also as a thicker oil cooler. The new oil cooler is 25 millimeters thicker, which is just over an inch thicker than the previous one. I've made a cutaway view so that you guys can see the engine mounted in the hull. And I took an RXPX hull so you guys can see the difference between model year 17 and 18. We had to redesign the inside shape of the hull to accommodate for the bigger oil cooler. So that oil cooler would not fit in a model year 17 hull. So now that we've covered the engines, let's have a look at the cooling system for the new platform and also some details regarding the RXPX 300 since it shares some of the benefits and the improvements done to the engine cooling system. The new platform uses a new larger right plate, also a new coolant reservoir. You'll see a standardized open loop cooling system on the 1500 ACE 230 and a simplified cooling system on the 1630 ACE 300. So let's have a look at these in detail. The new coolant reservoir is now supported by the airbox, and it also features a diagnostic connector receptacle. Since the 120 ohm resistance for the CAN system is built in the clusters, we do not need anymore the cap with the resistance built in there. So this is just a receptacle to make sure that the connector stays clean and dry. Right plate with better thermal efficiency. The new platform uses a new right plate with different internal passages. They also have a lot of fins. The top of the cooling plate also have lots of fins for more heat dissipation. The same design has been used to redesign the RXPX right plate, but it still keeps its smaller size. Okay, top cooling for RXPX. The improved but smaller right plate of the RXPX didn't provide as much cooling capacity than the one used on the new platform. So extra cooling through the top of the right plate was necessary to reach our expectations. The pump housing now sprays water on top of the right plate using 3 calibrated holes of about 7 millimeters. But now, why so many efforts in the cooling system? Well, let's see that in the next slides. So with all the changes that we just mentioned, we were able to simplify the closed-loop cooling system of the 1630 engine. We can eliminate the secondary thermostat and the intermediate cooler as it was introduced in 2016. This means a linear engine compartment due to the fewer parts, easier to repair, and also the cooling system is now standard with all the other engines. I also mentioned that the new platform would have a standardized open-loop cooling system. A new intercooler was created and it replaces the previous one on the 1500 HOAs 230. The difference is simply in the water tanks. For the open-loop cooling system, the hose fittings have been relocated to the front to standardize with the 300, and this also makes servicing easier and more convenient. This change will also be done on the GTR and GTRX platform. Generation 3 IBR. It does use the same Gen 2 linear actuator, but we are bringing in a new IBR actuator part number with improved components, a new internal motor, and also a new external housing material. The reverse gate has been redesigned and it provides exceptional maneuverability. The IBR gate pivot bolts and the trim ring pivot bolts are now mounted directly on the right plate, so they are easy to remove, and also once you've removed them, you have a quick access to the jet pump and venturi, which are the only parts left. So maneuverability, reliability, and serviceability has been improved overall with the Gen 3. The RXT X package will be fitted with two neat features this year. First, the launch control, which is an automatic adjustment of the VTS to achieve optimum acceleration. So when the speed is below 20 kilometers per hour or 12 miles per hour, the VTS lowers to its lowest position and the launch control indicators flashes to indicate the system is ready. When the speed exceeds 30 km per hour or 19 miles per hour, the VTS returns to the user's selected position. The operator can activate or deactivate the launch control at any time by pressing both VTS up and down button at the same time, or the launch control will also deactivate itself when the engine is shut off. Finally, the X package will also benefit from an extra 4 degree of trim for more fun. Above 60 km per hour, the VTS angle will be limited to the normal range to increase stability. It is not an extended range aggressive like the Spark Tricks, but it does give you a lot of fun. All right, so the exhaust system, most parts comes from its predecessor. The biggest change is the standardization of the mufflers. Basically, all engines from a 155 to a 300 will use the larger muffler. The ventilation system is now located in the front, behind the body panels. The tubes, they run down under the storage front bin. The ventilation box up front, holding the tubes. It also holds the hinge mechanism for the front storage cover. So it's also used to align the storage cover to make sure that you have a perfect fit and a smooth operation of the front latches. This year, a new simplified fuse box will be introduced. Also, we're going to have to talk about the new steering harness design, which is a bit different than it used to be. Let's have a look at those two things in details. First, the simplified fuse box. The design is very similar to what we do on the 900s. The splices are in the harness, so we have no bus bar in the fuse box. In this case, the fuse box is smaller than its predecessor, but it's slightly bigger than a 900 ACE. Apart from the 900 ACEs, all the units in model year 18 will be using this new fuse box and main harness design. New steering harness design, well, we could almost use the term front harness when referring to the steering harness. It's much longer than it used to, and it also features a connector that provides power and ground for the accessories, like the USB charging port and audio system. There are no connection below the steering system. It really wraps around the hinge mechanism up front and it goes back under the seat where it connects to the main harness in the engine compartment. Great news this year, an integrated 100-watt fully waterproof audio system. It's easy to install and service due to the well-designed electrical system. All the units are pre-wired. The connector is located in an easy-to-reach location on the ventilation box for quick installation. We're talking about 1 hour of installation. You can even listen to music with the engine turned off as long as the key is installed. The system will let you listen to your music. It streams via Bluetooth for 1 hour or until the battery reaches 12.3 volts. Let's have a look at all the parts in the audio system. On the left side, you have the remote, the amplifier, a woofer, and a tweeter. And on the right side, you have a woofer and a tweeter. I mentioned simple electrical system, and I just wanted to share with you the locations of the connectors. One of them connects to the left pod harness, so from the right pod to the left pod. And the other one connects to the steering harness up front, the connector that, if not in use, must be kept on the ventilation box. Before we talk about the USB charging port, I wanted you to understand where it's located. So in the glove box area, you have a sealed compartment inside for your cell phone, which got some protection and also has the USB connection in there. The USB charging port located in that dry cell phone compartment comes standard on the GTX Limited and is optional for others as a pack accessory. The charging port has a rubber cover that should be put in place when not in use, but if ever the USB connection is found to be defective or corroded, it can easily be replaced as an assembly with a small section of the harness. And to make sure that no water or corrosion would make its way through the complete steering harness, we used a special wire filled with silicone to block any migration of water into the other harnesses. Here we can see the accessory connector, not in use on the left, and it's installed on the receptacle built in the front ventilation box to keep it sealed. On the right side, you can see the connector used to supply the USB connector harness and the auto system. In red, you can see the DC-DC converter that powers the USB port. And in green, you see the harness with the anti-capillary wires that we've just talked about. And then in yellow, it's the harness for the DC-DC converter. And it also makes a T-harness so that you can connect the and power the audio system. If no audio system is installed, then the extra connector must be reinstalled on the receptacle of the ventilation box to keep it sealed. Now, on the steering system, lifting the whole front cover, including the steering handlebar system, forces us to route the steering cable differently. The steering system features a very clever solution to this new steering cable routing, and let's have a look at this. Here's the clever steering system. It does convert a vertical to an horizontal movement. So the lever has to convert the movement because the angle of the steering cable is different. And the cable could not be attached to the steering system like we normally do. The system also features an easy steering alignment system that we use on Sparks, so no tools are needed to align the handlebar. And also, you can lock the nozzle into the center position to make everything easier. The new platform has a very different body system. The body panels are easier to remove and it makes it faster to reach the components. Also, the ergolock system are now integrated in the bodywork instead of part of the seat. Once you've removed the two seats, you will also notice that there is an engine compartment cover. This cover can easily be removed for a bigger access to the engine compartment. In the front, the direct access front storage bin can also be removed for serviceability. So let's have a look at those features. The new front storage compartment bin can be completely removed from the unit to access the fuel pump, the steering cable, or the steering harness, shown in blue, red, and green. One of the particularities of that new platform is also the modular rear seat, which can be used on the beach or on the unit, or you can remove it and use the back of the unit as a lounge chair. There's many things you can do, but the particularity is really that engine cover that we see on the picture that holds the seat in place. So together, let's go through the engine cover removal. We'll start by removing the seat. And once the seat is removed, you do have a quick access to maintenance elements like coolant reservoir, voltage regulator, fuse box, battery, engine oil dipstick. For the customer, there's a lot you can do from that area. Even basic diagnostic can be done there. If we need to go further, then you simply remove all the screws around. The two front ones are bolts and nuts. The other ones are screws with inserts on the inside. Don't forget to remove the center cover highlighted on these images. There are screws underneath it, 3 of them, that you must remove. Once the screws are removed, simply remove the access cover, and now you have a much larger access to the engine bay for other repairs, including oil changes, since the oil filter is located underneath it. Here is a view of what it looks like without the upper deck, so you can see the layout and the other components. Earlier I mentioned that there was other contributors for the stability of this unit, and the seating position is certainly one of them. Especially when riding with a passenger, the center of gravity has been lowered considerably, and it does make a huge difference when riding the unit. One of the great features of this new platform is the rear deck, including the LinQ attachment system, which allows you to use a few of the pack accessories that has been made available now for Sea-Doo, which is a cooler, a bag, and a fuel caddy. This will definitely be a big hit. Lots of customers are carrying fuel and coolers, so I'm expecting this to be something very popular with your customers. The new ski pylon also uses the LinQ attachment system, which makes it very easy to remove and reinstall. So that concludes the section of the presentation regarding the new platform. Now let's move on with the lineup. Here's an image of the complete lineup for this year. So we will start with the Rec Light lineup review first. The Rec Light category this year gets coloration changes and a new 3-up tricks. The unit is the same as a 2-up tricks. It really is only the longer seat, longer grab handle, and extended rear platform. Recreation lineup, a few coloration changes. The rest of it really carries on from last year. Performance category, obviously the GTR and GTR X remains. The RXTs are coming in with a new platform. The RXP is mostly unchanged. There is one change for the GTR X and the RXPX. It's the introduction of the steering system from the Trix with the stainless steel handlebar and the aluminum adjustable riser. There has been a few improvements to it. Let's review that together. So the big difference really is with the Easy Lock system. It used to be an infinite range of position, relying only on the clamping force. Now we still rely on the clamping force to remove any looseness in the mechanism, but in the end, you've got 7 locking positions. So if ever you're under severe loads, this design cannot completely slide out of position. For the luxury lineup, this year is obviously all the new platform. The big difference is there are no more units with suspension. In the Tow Sport lineup this year, the Wake Pro comes in with the new platform, and also the Wake 155 gets an improvement. The big change is the Polytech hull, which is lighter, provides a more nimble handling and a quicker acceleration. The reinforcement plates that holds the engine mounts had to be changed over since we use different engine mounts on the 1503 compared to the 900s. But otherwise, the unit uses most of the parts from the regular GTI's 155. All right, so that concludes the review of the lineup. There is one more topic I want to talk about, this new lifting tool. It features 2 different rings to hook up the lifting device. When using both rings together, it will lift the unit in a straight position, as you would do in a day-to-day business. But if you have to do the PDIs on units created in an angle, then you use only one ring, as you can see on this picture. I found it much easier that way, and the comments from a few dealers trying that tool are the same, so I'm confident you will like it. I recommend you get one. It is not a mandatory tool, so you have to place your order. So, guys, thanks for joining. Thank you for your patience. And I hope that this presentation of the 2018 Sea-Doos was helpful for you. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, feel free to go on my blog. I'll do my best to answer your question and share the knowledge with the other stakeholders online. So everyone, have a great rest of the day.